Are you making any of these 7 mistakes in the planning stages of your book, which makes it go dead in the water before the reader even opens the first page? Whether you're somebody who likes to plan out every single detail or just sort of write by the seat of your pants, you still need to have these elements before you start writing. And the number one thing you have to have is called an inciting incident. I also call it a trouble or catalyst. It basically is something that makes the character change direction. So the character's just going along with their life. Boop, 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 boop. Life is great, or maybe it's not. And something comes along that changes the trajectory of their life. You absolutely have to have this because a book is about a certain segment of time in your character's life, a pivotal moment of change, which we'll get to in a second. Luke Skywalker, for instance, is just going along happy in his life, just fixing some robots, when all of a sudden the Darth Vader and his men come and take out his town and his family. That inciting incident is a big one. You don't have to have a huge one, but you do have to have one that has this key point. It has to be an inciting incident that would be specific to that character. Now, what do I mean by that? Different characters have different things that they are afraid of. And that brings me to number 2. You need to know your character and their backstory, and most of all, what they're afraid of because of that backstory. I've talked in other videos about deep emotional wounds and creating great characters, and there's a whole slew of videos on the channel that you can watch. But every character, every person has some kind of a deep emotional wound. I got asked the other day if that has to be a trauma. It does not, but we all have moments, and your character has to have them too. Something as simple as getting caught shoplifting when you're 6 years old, or being left in the supermarket by accident, or being bullied in the 7th grade. All of those are things that scar us a little bit, and your character is going to have those moments, whether they're big, like witnessing the death of his parents for Batman, or small. Those things affect your character. Now, let's tie that back to number 1. That character has fears. Whatever that fear is, you know what you're going to do to him? You're going to give him exactly that in the plot. You want to look at, what is my character really afraid of having happen? What does he really not want to do? And that's exactly what you do. Because when you start a plot like that, where you have the character doing the one thing they don't want to do, you already have instant buy-in from the reader because they're like, oh, I got to see how this works out. I know he doesn't want to do this, or I know that she is totally terrified to do this. So you take this character and you put them into a circumstance where they have to start facing the fears that they have. That comes in with knowing your character's backstory. You, as the author, need to know where your character grew up, whether their parents got divorced, if they're an only child, if they're one of 5, if they grew up in a small town, where they went to college. All those little details really help you flesh out this person and understand what they would really rather avoid and what they will do in a certain situation. It really gives you an indication of how your character is going to act and react. And what that does is it makes it believable. That folds right into number 3, which is having a plot that is big enough, which is called a book-length plot, that has a lot of steps. If your character's only goal for the whole book is to go to the store and buy a can of pineapples to make grandma's special birthday cake, probably not going to be a very interesting book because there's not a whole lot of steps in there. Now, if he's fighting off zombies at the same time, that might make it more interesting. But if it's just something small like that that can be accomplished in a single scene, it's not a book-length goal. So it has to have something that has a lot of steps in it. When Luke goes to kill Darth Vader, there's a lot of steps, a lot of hurdles he has to overcome, a lot of obstacles in his way. That plot that you create, all of those steps that character has to take, should make the character face those fears we talked about in number 2. Put their fears on the page and have them face them in every single scene in some way. That also goes along really well with number 4, which is creating a plot that matters not just to the reader, but also to the character and to you as the author. If the book doesn't matter to you, you're not going to want to write it. Am I excited about it? Do I really want to write it? Is it a story that other people are going to care about? And how you get to that is hitting on common themes. And I talk about this a lot in my other videos. If you look at something like The Walking Dead, that would probably never happen in real life. But it has the common themes of family, of survival, of sacrifice. That's what the viewer relates to, and that's what makes that show matter to the viewers and to the authors and to the actors. You have to do the same thing with your book. The key to that is to also have an internal plot that is book length, that is all about emotions, facing fears, acknowledging anxiety, overcoming your insecurities. All of those things your character has to do in your book as well. So you're going to have 2 plots going at one time in your book. The external plot, which is all the things the character has to do, and the internal plot, which is all the emotions they have to overcome so that they can grow and change. I say that a lot, I know, but that's a really important part of a book because people read books to see the character have some sort of a victory, even if it's a temporary victory because you know you've got 10 other books in the series. A big part of that is the emotional plot. Number 6 is to make sure that your character is constantly challenged. So I showed you the plot diagram. Basically, all those little steps, the scenes going up, each of those has an outcome. And generally, things should get worse for your character because when everything goes well, the reader stops reading because they figure the character has achieved everything they want. So the character has to face obstacles in every single solitary scene, whether those are emotional, like I got to overcome my fear of talking to people in order to get this clue from the mystery guy, or if it's physical, like I've got to climb up the top of this building and I'm terrified of heights. And when you do that, you have them overcome emotional challenges at the same time as they're overcoming physical challenge, things are continuing to get worse for the character until the character finally faces what's called a black moment, and then they have to resolve everything. But we'll get to that in another video. That creates rising stakes. Rising stakes is what gets the reader invested because things are getting worse and the reader's like, I don't know if this is going to work out. What if it doesn't? How is the author going to pull this off? That will create somebody that's just turning to the end of the pages as quick as they can because they're dying to see how it turns out. That's the kind of stakes you want to build. And again, you don't have to have car chases and murders and bad guys and villains in order to do this. You can, but you can also have a very ordinary coming of age story in a young adult, for instance, and still have those stakes matter. You have to look at number 7 is connecting with the reader, the character, and yourself emotionally. Look at what you watch. Look at what you read. What are the common themes going through all of those things? Because those themes that you're attracted to are themes that you will want to write about, that your character will probably be a part of, and that the reader is very likely to like too. That passion comes through in the work that you put on the page. This was just a broad overview of plotting. There are individual concepts that are great to know about, and those are all in a 6-part video series on my Fiction Fundamentals playlist. So definitely check that out if you want to know more about plotting. If you're ready to write your first chapter, or you already have, then I highly suggest you check out this video because this is the one that kind of tells you all of the things that could possibly go wrong in the first chapter and how to fix them.